Hey there, what's up P&P community? This is your man Prachurjya Biswas and thanks for tuning in into this show. We at P&P have constantly strived for scientific excellence and thus we will do today as we move to the second episode of Get High with P&P. First in the science podcast, let's discuss the new scientific developments that have taken place in this year. In this month or in November, a lot of scientific developments have taken place with the scientists risking their lives in the woods of Greenland in order to find certain facts about green kelp. The green kelp is a small plant that has been used in order to remove acidification. This green kelp has been used for combating ocean acidification and sea acidification, and it has the capacity to take enough CO2 to locally offset ocean acidification and protect local shellfish, which has been shown by new research. Also, new research has showed that CO2 or carbon dioxide is also making us fat. So these kind of new researchers are aware of the fact of global warming as well as human health. Also, a research has shown the country should first put a universal basic income in place before robots take their jobs, because the concept of robotic job taking place has come forward to us. So these were the scientific developments that we have in today with us. But before this, in this top Get High with P&P podcast, I want to specifically talk about a new term which has been come today. Post-truth. Yes, that's right. You heard it right. Post-truth. Post-truth has been named the word of the year by Oxford Dictionary. Every year, a set of words have been selected as the most used words in this year. And among this came to be the post-truth named the word of the year by Oxford Dictionary. The US election and the EU referendum drive popularity of this adjective, describing situations in which the objective facts are less influential than appeals to emotion. Well, the post-truth was first came into my mind when I looked into a video by Veritasium or Derek Mueller himself. In this, he tried to explain the facts that why facts do not live anymore. But that is not always the case. Facts do live with us if we take it ourselves. For us, objectified truth is less reasonable than emotional truth. Now, for example, if we consider the problem that happened during the US election, that fake news were being generated instead of the what we call the real news being generated in social networking sites like Facebook. The real concept behind this fake news being generated was that the fake news tried to hit upon the emotional uh, objection or the emotional mindset of the people, and rather than the objective mindset. As defined by the dictionary, the word post-truth means that relating to or denoting circumstances in which objective facts are less influential in shaping public opinion than appeals to emotion and personal belief. And the term post-truth had been increased by around 2000% in 2016 compared to last year. This, as I told you about the example of coming out of fake news instead of the real news in the US election and also in the EU referendum in United Kingdom, had led to the increase in this word. And we need to understand the fact that why the use of this word had increased by 2000%. As I told you, the elections are not only a point of politics, a point of world economy, or a point of world democracy, but this US election was a point in the human mankind, because the elections are a point in which people try to come up and vote for them who they think can lead them to good health or like a good leadership, right? But that was not always happening in this US election. So fake news had to be generated in order to hit upon the emotional face of the people. Now, if a emotional phase is been hidden, then it's always human nature that comes forward, even if there is other type of like objectified facts. When there is an emotional connection with something, we like to go with that rather than going with the logical one. So, if fake news were trying to hit upon the emotional nature of a person, then he would easily go into that direction. And that's what had happened in both the US election as well as in the EU referendum. We know that the European Union referendum in the United Kingdom was also a very emotional perspective for people around the world. If EU stops working, if Britain stops working with EU, then there is quite a lot of chances that the emotional health of people starts to collapse, because a lot of people are dependent upon the trade links between EU and other things. Now, it is important that we also look into what made people think, or what made Oxford Dictionary think that post-truth can be the word of the year. The word of the year was to intend to reflect the passing year of language, and it was followed by a controversial choice that was selected last year, and was the face with tears of joy emoji. Now, where there is an emoji, in contrast to that, there is a word used as a post-truth, which were used around in 1992 in an essay by our late Serbian American playwright Steve Stakes in the Nation magazine Czech, writing about the Iran Contra scandal and the Persian Gulf War. And he said that we as free people have freely decided that we want to live in some post-truth world. He he wants to tell us the people that even in 1992 we had an emotional acceptance to facts we had. And today also, even if there is an emotional fact and there is a logical fact, we tend to go with the emotional fact because that's trying to hit us in serious minds. Now, after a US election, let's forget about US elections. Let's move in what we have in today's generation. Today's generation is totally driven by a social media network, which acts as a news source, which acts as a way to communicate with others, and acts as an emotional background for one. Because if there is like a range of facts that has been set up, then there one half of the fact is an emotional part of the fact and one half is a logical fact. And what the social media network does is attack as those emotional facts. So if an emotional fact is being attacked, people will try to people will try to go with that emotional part of that. And that is what is happening in this post-truth world. So what is actually the word signify here is that after truth, there is a wide sphere in which includes the emotional background of a funny person. If we have been told about the truth, if we have been told about the fact, then there is a history or there is a future of that fact which is called the post-truth. Right? In the evidence of the phrase post-truth being used before said article, but apparently with a transparent meaning after the truth was known, and not with a new implication that truth itself had become irrelevant. Right? Steve Cheik was trying to refer to the time after a specific situation, event, or a post-war or post-match. So, if post-truth has been taken, then it should be somewhat related with other terms like post-match or post-war. If we have a post-match conference, we try to look into what we have, like if what happened in the game, what went wrong in the game, what went right in the game. So, if post-truth has been come up as a word, the post-truth should be seen as what went wrong in the truth, what went right in the truth, because truth is not always wrong, always right. Because if you're talking about the news, if you're talking about fake news, then for some of the people that may be right, or for some of the people that may be wrong. So a news or a fact is stated to be always truth, but post-truth means there has to be some rightness and wrongness of that. It may be 99% right but 1% wrong for someone. Like if I believe that there is if there is a quote like every good has its own evil, so if every truth has its own false too. So if I'm saying that there is a fake news that has been generated, then you should first move through all the facts that has been gained. And that's what Veritasium said, that if we have fake news, then they should go through an algorithm in which all these fake news or all these false comes out, and there is 100% truth in that. No truth can be 99% right and 1% wrong. It has to be 100% right. So that's what this procedure has to be. People can't go with the truth or can't go with post-truth analysis like that. It's for other people to understand, for people who are giving us the news to understand, to go to the post-truth analysis and to give us the right message or the right news we want. Fake news has caused a lot of disruptions, and that should not be the case even after that. So if we are discussing about some news, even if we are talking about Steve Jobs' article, who told about the post-truth, that what should happen after the truth, then we should know that truth has to be 100% right. It can't be irrelevant, or it can't be something that drives people crazy. It may have an emotional background, but first of all, it's a logical statement. A fact or a truth is a logical statement. Before being an emotional statement, it's a logical statement. And if this emotional statement has some kind of emotional reaction going on into the people, then it has to be changed. Right. So, these were the main points that came into picture when we're talking about post-truth. So, if we consider post-truth being something like after truth analysis, then it's good. If we know that, if just like Veritasium talked about the Google being a post-truth analyzer, what it does is about like there are hundreds and thousands of spam news accounts or hundreds and thousands of spam fact accounts like Sky News and some things like that. But what it does is it tries to filter all these things and give us the best news that we have. So what actually it does is it goes to various links and find out that what is the right fact inside, and that should be the case every time. You should not go with all the facts like it is like it's just a fact. If it hits me emotionally, then it's a fact and it's a truth. But no, there must be 80% right in that and 10% wrong. And we need to believe, we need to move away with the wrong in that. That's what Google does. Google has an algorithm to do that. It is very cumbersome for us humans to do that thing. But if a machine does that thing for us, then we can do it. And as I can say, the social media has affected the generation a long time. And if social media does an algorithm like that, if social media incorporates an algorithm like that, then seriously, the post-truth analysis can be seriously very easy, and we can know the correct truth. So the only message I wanted to give through this podcast, or even the message that P&P wants to give through this podcast, is that we at P&P have strived for excellence, scientific excellence, and if something like post-truth analysis needed to be done in order to pursue the scientific excellence, we'll not move back. We can develop that algorithm. The algorithm is like, if Google can do it, then any other company can do it. If Google can do it, then Facebook can do it. Why is it that only Facebook was the main pathway for the news channels, for the fake news to enter through? Because they do not have the right algorithm. So a right algorithm is needed in order to remove the wrong part of the truth. It is important that a post-truth analysis is done, and that's what is happening. So the word of the year being given to post-truth reflects a big future that the Oxford dictionaries are thinking about this world, and that what should have happened today.